All right, guys, quickly before my dad come, I just want you guys to know he has no filter, okay? Too many years on CPD don't mess them up. So all that to say, all thoughts and views are strictly his own. I might agree with some of them, I give you that, but they're completely his own. Oh, he's coming back. Gotta go.
Hey, Gen Geek fam, this is Doc Solo, coming to you from my office. Just in case you were wondering about the change of scenery, I have a separate space where I go to do what I consider dry work, and with all the things that I've got going on. And I just finished my early morning 5 a.m. workout, and I decided to come in and shoot a video that Jay and I have been discussing for quite some time. You know that we are just 1 month, a little bit over a month in to our YouTube endeavors here at Generation Geek. Even though we have been plotting this out for a few years, having businesses and family and all that stuff has been a little bit prohibitive in our ability to do it like we wanted to do it. But now life has kind of shifted and the businesses are thriving. And so we said, let's go ahead and start this thing between you and I to share it with the world. And so I wanted to kind of give you some insight as to who we are, how we move, what we're about. Right? We've been getting comments and questions, which we're grateful for, with the channel as diminutive as ours at this stage. But we're pretty confident based on the response. So we're going to grow and probably go pretty rapidly. And thank you for joining us on that journey. But first, let's kind of address a few things. First, who are we? Well, you guys came out of nowhere and you kind of talk with some type of knowledge and authoritatively. Well, that's because I've been in the industry for over 30 years. I started in animation, working on properties such as Batman, the animated series, Animaniacs, Pinky and the Brain, and a few others that you may not have heard of. I worked at an Emmy award-winning animation studio on the south suburbs here in the Chicagoland area. But prior to that, I'm a military vet. I'm a disabled veteran. I served my country proudly. And I'm a retired Chicago police officer. So a lot of what you hear is based on my life experience as well as my core values. As far as my core values, a lot of people, we want to thank you guys that have commented on our most watched video to date, our review on ISOM. And the word that kept coming up, that kept popping up, was objectivity and fairness. And that's who we are. My life personally has been built around service. A lot of what you hear is not fear. Okay, let's just get that out of the way. It's not fear. We don't fear any smoke. You can't be who I am growing up where I've grown up in the hood on the south side of Chicago, coming from the family I come from. That's another story. Okay, and endured and survived the streets of Chicago and the military, and be afraid of any person walking. My son is built the same way. All right. The reason I'm addressing that is because an incredible, so far as I know, and gracious YouTuber here saw this tiny channel, and she highlighted our ISOM review with her panel. Unfortunately, they never really got to the highlighted points that she really wanted to address. They kind of got stuck in conversations, which a lot of geek panels are prone to do, sidebar conversations and, witty comments. But I saw that her intention was there and it was good. And she really wanted to address some of the points of, that we made during our ISOM review. Well, let me be clear.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
Hey, it's Doc Solo here. Thank you guys so much for watching this video and clicking on our channel. But I have a very small favor to ask. This is a new venture
for us. And, we're very, very grateful for you guys consuming our content. But if you do one small thing and actually subscribe and hit the notification bell, we notice that despite having respectful views for a channel this size, that many people that are watching and even commenting aren't actually subscribing. And so if you'd like to see more from us and to just encourage us to continue, because you dig what we're putting down, please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you know when we post new content and when we go live, and we will endeavor to continue to bring you some of the most relevant content that we possibly can. And so thank you so much. I got work to do. Enjoy the video.
And now back to your regularly scheduled program.
That was very strategic on our part. Me, being who I am, an entrepreneur and a businessman, okay, I won't tell you with all the things that I've done because it really isn't relevant. If you want to know more, leave something in the comments and maybe I'll do something about that later. But me being who I am, a very strategic thinker and someone that studies extensively everything before they jump into it, I've been following Eric July and Ethan Van Sciver and Comicsgate for years. I just want to kind of correct that. There was a comment made that he probably doesn't know. No, I'm very well educated on who these men present themselves to be on this platform. I'm one of those guys, those who know me, because I've been around so long. I don't know, a lot of people don't know me, but people who matter know me. Okay, I've moved in entertainment circles for a while. I'm kind of the man behind the curtain. And this is kind of me coming out on this platform, the other platforms that I have, putting my face forward so people can see who I am and the things that I've done. And so, not new to this game, not the YouTube game, not comics, not animation. I'm an old head. And so let's just start from there. Okay. I take no offense. I like clarity above everything else. I love clarity. But it seemed to be framed as if the position that we took was somehow fearing smoke. That is never the case. Never the case. Trust me. If you really knew, that is so not the case. But what you're hearing from me is my core value of faith. That's what you're hearing from me and my son and I. I'm also licensed and ordained clergy. You can call me a pastor or whatever, even though I don't have a church. But I'm profoundly faithful in my Christian faith. And so let's just be clear. Conservative does not mean Christian, contrary to some YouTubers. Conservative is a political party. Christian is a walk and a devotion and a way of life, not unlike Islam. Okay. I take great umbrage with people that use Christian synonymous with conservative, yet they're willing to say anything and everything, regardless, with no discipline, no love, no consideration of the harm that they may do. Okay. And so you can take that how you want it. That's cool. But I'm not going to get into scripture and stuff like that because I do all of that. But that's what you hear when you hear my delivery. I carry this with me everywhere. It is my true north of how I interact with people, how I desire to interact with people. Sometimes I stumble, but I'm not a fan of profanity. We want and just vulgar language and incendiary topics just to have clicks and giggles. That's not what this channel is. Jay and I, my son and sons, I'll have my other son on here and maybe my grandson. This is meant to be an elevated family channel because we're celebrating our common love for all things geek culture. They grew up under me with comics and animation. I have done work for Marvel, small things, but that was strategic. Again, if you want more of these specific stories, leave a comment and I don't mind diving into it. I'm actually posting these things on my other channels. If you're interested, I also have, I don't know why I say also, because it's really one of my primary things right now that is growing very rapidly. I have an online comic art school. That's how real I am about this. I have professional industry artists that work with me, that work for me. I'm the director. I did the programming. I taught at the International School of Comics. If you want to Google it, it's Scuola d'Internationale, which is a reputable, prestigious art school out of Italy that had a Chicago location. And I was one of the instructors there as well before I opened up Ka-Pow, the Comic Art Academy. Another point of clarity based on the video, my school is an adult school. If you are an adult, our school is for 18 over. You have to have a job. It's a 2-year course. Though we are starting things for kids, no, it is a comprehensive 2-year course. One of my instructors actually teaches comics at a college and is an industry pro. Okay, we're legit. We are legit across the board. And so, again, I'm bringing that up because that was a point that was kind of alluded to, you know, that he teaches kids. Yeah, I teach kids, but Ka-Pow, the Comic Art Academy, is an adult institution. All right, almost like a junior college. And so, in case you're wondering, check us out at Ka-Pow School everywhere. That's why many of our videos are sponsored by Ka-Pow School. That is my entity. Okay, my son Jay is also an entrepreneur. He runs a fitness facility he owns a fitness facility that is very successful. That is, he's had it for a few years now, and he's thriving and feeding his family. I'm proud of my boys. He's a father of 3, married, martial arts champion, world champion, and his father's son. We're just giving you some insight into who we are. Okay. So again, if you think we're referring smoke from a bunch of comic guys, no, that's not it. You know, I made a comment saying there are no tough guys in comics. The reason I said that is because of this. It's not that I'm a tough guy because I grew up in the hood. I fought for my country as well as fought for my neighborhood. You know, that doesn't make me a tough guy. All right. That makes me a man that does not fear war, but prefers peace. I choose peace, but I am a man of war. So let's just be clear moving forward in your comments and your dealings with us. But I choose peace. I love peace. You know, there's a saying that that says those who favor war have never actually fought. And that's the truth. All right. And those that have fought, we choose peace. Okay. We actually choose peace. And that's my cadence. That's our love for objectivity, where I don't mind going and commenting. I'll critique anything EVS puts out because it's my opinion. And I'm also a pro. Okay. Willing to go stroke for stroke artistically. I stand 10 toes down on that. And that's not a humble brag. Okay. I've been doing this a long time and I teach it. I've partnered with cons. I'm not a guest. I'm not just a guest. I'm an institution present at conventions. So it's the type of game that we're talking about. What are we playing here? And so we want to be Switzerland. You heard me say that in one of the early videos. We want to be Switzerland here at Generation Geek. And that doesn't mean neutrality out of fear. That means let's hold court. If you guys are on Camp EVS or Camp Rippaverse, and you want to share this video, both of them are welcome here. I love to hear what people have to say. I love learning from other people. Now, mind you, I've consumed massive quantities of their content. And so by and large, I know who they present themselves to be. Okay. And let's be clear. We chose the ISOM review early for clicks. All right. This is YouTube. I know marketing. I know promotion as well as anybody. It wasn't pro or anti-Ripper. It was really to launch the channel in a respectable way based on topics that are trending. Now, granted, we're not going to pander, but I'd be stupid as an entrepreneur and as someone who's trying to grow a channel to not take advantage of a hot topic. And it's a hot topic. And so we saw people from Camp EVS, we saw people from Camp Rippa come in and leave comments, and they were all gracious. And we want to stay that way. We want to be a trusted resource for you. That's what we want to be. We want to be a place where you can come and we can just keep it comics. We can keep it geek. Let's make that a side handle. Generation Geek. Keep it geek. Okay? This is when I say there's no tough guys in comics. Yes, there are people that grew up in rough neighborhoods, that had tough lives like I did, that literally got it out the mud, that are in comics. But when I say let's keep it comics, let's keep it geek, I mean, there are no tough guys here because we set that aside for escapism. That's what we want this. That's what we want this to be. That's what we want this to be. We want to keep it geek. We want to keep it a refuge. This is where we geeks, nerds, whatever, when we experience whatever we experience at home or on the street, we retreated to because we knew it was a safe place where people could fly and lift up cars and shoot laser beams out of their eyes. The joy that brought. Let's keep it geek.
This segment of Generation Geek is brought to you in part by Ka-Pow, the Comic Art Academy. What do your favorite TV shows, hit movies, and epic video games all have in common? They were created by and employ comic book artists. Want to know how? Then you want Ka-Pow. Check out their YouTube at Ka-Pow School or visit teachyoutodraw.com for more information.
So now my commentary on EVS and Ripper. Let's talk about that because again, if you clicked on this video, this was intentional. All right. We're not going to make our channel about them. All right. We're not going to predicate Generation Geek about what they are doing because we largely do not care. And that's the truth. When I mention them, it's to address certain things. Again, I'm addressing certain things that have been presented in the comments and on replays, commentary on panels of our video. EVS versus Ripper, my stance on that. I think it's abhorrent. I think it's horrible. In consuming their content, and I'm talking both sides get smoke in this. Let me give you a little backstory. When Comicsgate began, I was inundated with emails and DMs from people who know me and know my Christian position. You notice I will not say conservative because that's a political position that I think is lesser than actually the Christian faith. You can be a conservative and not display the tenets of Christianity. I'm a devout Christian, as devout as you will find a devout Muslim. I am that, okay? And so people who knew my Christian position and the things that mattered to me and what I hated about what was being introduced to this medium, both comics and animation, that has been so good to me and my family. They're like, Solo, there's this thing called Comicsgate. And I watch from the shadows because I'm very slow to jump on bandwagons until I know who's at the wheel. All right. And I would encourage you to be the same way, even here, Generation Geek. Okay. Be slow to jump on a bandwagon. You may like what I say. You may like how I say it. All right. But I value integrity and consistency above all. And I bring that everywhere. Sidebar. I even have my own studio. If you think I don't know the indie space, check it right here. All right. This is my studio. It's a Christian-led, faith-inspired studio where I'm going to be doing content and giving you my faith positions and my personal insights onto maybe faith and maybe a little bit of politics. I'm largely not a politician, okay? But my studio is called Honor Studios, literally, because that is the core of that's one of my core values, honor. And I bring that with me everywhere. Ka-Pow, Honor Studios, and now Generation Geek. I carry this everywhere. If you meet me on the street, you will not find someone different on YouTube than you see on the street. The same guy on the street is the same dude in the gym, is the same dude in the squad car, is the same dude in front of his family, is the same dude at church. I won't say anything in here that I can't say on a pulpit. And that's the standard that I live by, and those are the relationships I value. So when I look at these two gentlemen on these polar sides, number one, it's bad that we're talking comics and fantasy and geekdom, and my grandkids can't watch your channels. Okay, I understand that you all are driving your audiences and promoting your properties. Okay, but the level of small thinking on both sides is startling to me, to be quite honest. Because you address what's happening from the left, which I agree with. I completely agree with. I don't even really buy comics by and large anymore. I'm very selective, okay, because of what is being perpetuated in this beloved medium. I'm very selective. But what has been allowed to creep into this medium breaks my heart. So I agree, by and large, with many of the things that you all say. Okay. But I don't rock with anybody 100%, especially if they don't show consistency of character. And that's what I found on both sides of the fence. Inconsistency of character. All right. I take offense to someone that calls himself a Christian, but is drawing genitalia for clicks and giggles on his channel just for shock value. You know, we see how Howard Stern turned out. I believe that these things have a very short shelf life, to be quite honest. One of the things plaguing our industry that neither one of them addresses is the lack of influx of new readers. New readers. See, I'm doing my part. That's even how Generation Geek exists. I introduced my children. And now I'm introducing my grandchildren to geek culture and comics and animation. But because of the zeitgeist that's currently occurring with grooming and indoctrination to belief systems and ideals that I do not subscribe to as a man of faith, I have to stand guard. Well, my parents can kind of just give me something and set me on my way. We don't live in that kind of world anymore. All right. And so for those of you all who don't know what Comicsgate initially was, it was amazing. It was an amazing unity, in my opinion, of people that actually valued traditionalism in the medium. And I watched, but I knew because of where it was birthed, I was leery. I wear an X hat, not because of Elon Musk, because of the generation that I come from and because of Malcolm X. So let's lay that foundation right now. That's why I wear an X hat. All right. I'm representing my generation and the level of militancy that I have. That's who I am. Okay. But I don't play with Twitter. I do nothing on Twitter. Now that my ventures are taking off, I may promote on Twitter, but trust, you will not have a comment read from me on Twitter. And that is not because I fear Twitter. I just believe that it is a place that just perpetuates the basest aspects of humanity, quite honestly. Yes, there's good people there, but I believe they're constantly being bitten in this den of vipers. I don't play with Twitter. And it's not for my sake, it's for the sakes of those elsewhere, because I'm built different. I'm not sensitive, but you don't get too many chances to cross lines with me, you know? And so I just stay off. I have my businesses on there, but I post and I don't read. Okay. I don't engage there. If you want to talk to me, you can DM me, you can leave a comment. I may reply depending on the nature, again, because I choose peace. We choose peace. Jay chooses peace. You know, I believe that's more sustainable and more conducive to the growth that we need in this industry. And so that's my take on Twitter. But when we get back to Comicsgate, let's start off with EVS. My man is a G. I'm going to be quite honest. I don't rock with his delivery. I know people that have profited and ultimately suffered from their connection with his iteration of Comicsgate. But my man is a straight gangster. My man swooped in. For you all to know, he didn't start Comicsgate, but he definitely came in, swooped in, man, and positioned himself as the figurehead, as the father, as the godfather of Comicsgate, and everybody kind of fell in line. And I watched it happen. From the shadows, and it was nothing less than impressive. It really was. But the direction that it's taken, to me, is detestable. It really is. It's no longer about saving the comics industry. You have become that which you were created to combat. You have literally become that. You've become your own type of cancel culture. And I sit and I read the comments. A trash cast, man. When you're intentionally going to spend 4 hours out of your life, and you talk about how busy you are and how much stuff you got going on, but you're going to take 4 hours of your life to trash another dude. That is high school, dude. You are closer to my age, and that's why I hold you to a higher standard. You're always talking about 30 years in the industry, this, and listen to me. And I'm always leery about somebody who says that, quite honestly. That's, I'm FBI trained in interrogation and paralanguage, just so you know. There's a lot of cues there that we can talk about that later. All right. But I hold you to a higher standard as an elder, because that's what you are now. You're an elder in the industry. And elders, our job is to nurture, right? Our job is to prepare and to mentor. Okay. But when I see just attack after attack, venom and vitriol, and you call yourself a Christian, where is that okay in any Bible anywhere? If you call yourself a Christian, I will say you definitely are conservative. I will say that, but I take offense to Christian. All right. I take offense to that personally. And we can have that discussion. You welcome here? You are welcome here. Okay. We have that discussion. It'll be on my platform. And so I hold EVS to a higher standard, incredible professional with a library of work that speaks for itself. Now, granted, I'm not a fan of his work. I don't buy. I buy largely based on the creative team. I'm aware of his work. I have some of his books, but I could not get the story completed without buying them. But he was never a driving factor in my purchase decision. But I do respect what he does. He's solid. The man knows foundationally how to tell a story. Foundationally. Does good covers. He's got his strengths. He is a pro. The name of his channel, he's worthy of it. He is an absolute pro. But in his handling and headship of the Comicsgate movement, I'm very critical of that. And we believe largely some of the same things as it pertains to comics. And that's we all want a tribe, y'all. We all want a tribe. We all want to belong to something bigger. Yes, my name is Solo. That's because I move in silence. I usually move alone, and I come out the shadows and you're like, oh my God, where did this dude come from? That's how I move. That's not a name I chose for myself. That was bestowed upon me all the way back in high school. Okay. And I just ran with it because it's who I am. Right. And it served me well pre-YouTube. That's why I'm coming out now. Right. I'm coming out to the public. Pre-YouTube, though, it served me well. But I hold him to a higher standard as an elder. Not saying EVS is in the clear, because he does the same. I mean, not EVS, Eric July. Not saying that Eric July is in the clear. Not saying that Eric July is in the clear by any stretch of the imagination. By my opinion. Again, these are my opinions. This is Solo Says. I'm going to be doing these regularly, answering your questions. They will become content. I'm not addressing haters. I'm not monetizing haters. As we segue into Eric July, I'm not monetizing haters. That was immature. But again, listen, people. These guys largely don't really care about you outside of how they can benefit from you. That's one of the first rules of business. Okay, that's one of the top rules in the books of business. We care to a point to where it is no longer profitable for us as business and entrepreneurs. Understand that. Okay. I'm very big on clarity of relationships. These are businessmen. Well, they claim to be businessmen, but they're in the business of divisiveness. And that is problematic as someone who loves the industry. Eric July, I know how he got his start. I've seen documentaries he's been on. Again, I'm correcting those who may have questioned that I may not have been informed. I know who these people are. Trust me. Oh, no, I won't say that. I know who they present themselves to be on YouTube, because I very, very much appreciate that we live multifaceted lives. The problem is when you're inconsistent with the faces that you show. So I'm always going to speak in the context of who they present themselves to be on YouTube, because both of these gentlemen are fathers, they're husbands, there's somebody's brother, there's somebody's uncle, likely, there's somebody's nephew, all right, there's somebody's friend. So I can only judge you by what you present here on these platforms, on social media. See, because I'm trying to build a legacy here and at Honor Studios, at Ka-Pow, and at Generation Geek, right? We're trying to build a legacy so that when I'm gone, my great grandkids can be proud of what I put out there, that they can share it. I can't even watch either one of their programs with my grandchildren in the room. That's a problem for me. So I can't even help expand the culture to the younger people and use it as an example to aspire to. I can't do that. You are preventing me and people like me from doing that. And again, it ain't your first name, bro. It's your last name. My last name matters to me. I don't want my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids, my great-great-grandkids to be embarrassed by something their late grandfather or great-grandfather said on a platform that is forever out in the ether. I don't think you guys think that far. Because at the risk of bragging, my name is good in these streets. If you check out some of my interviews at Ka-Pow School, check out some of my interviews at Ka-Pow School with the people, the industry professionals that I am connected with. And again, people always say when they see my stuff at shows, man, who are you? I've had published, who are you? Where'd you come from? How long? I've been doing this. I got my first offer at DC Comics back in 90. I was at the animation studio for a year and a half, got on law enforcement. I met my mentor in comics, who was an industry mainstay. I won't say a legend, but he had worked for all the major publishers. And I met him at the animation studio. He groomed me on the business of the industry, which is why I did not enter the industry. Everybody thought I was crazy when I got introduced as a potential artist for Todd McFarlane. When I got introduced, as in literally walked over to DC. This is back when DC and Marvel were at the shows, and they actually showed up at the shows, where I got to bypass the whole line of people waiting to get critiques, looking for their big break into comics. I got walked up by now a Hollywood player, a major player in Hollywood. I got hand walked to DC and offered a job on the spot. And in my portfolio was nothing Marvel and DC. I was still very much just trying to find my way. But they were impressed enough that they offered me a job right there on the spot. Eddie Berganza, the editor of the Superman books, editor over the whole Superman line. And he sought me every year that he came to Chicago. Literally would come by and say, Solo, when you coming to work, man? But I knew what the industry was, and I knew that I would not have agency. And I was making more as a cop than comic books guys were making. And I had a family of 4 to feed. It did not make sense. The numbers didn't make sense for me. And so that's why I didn't enter. But my infamy is the dude who turned down Marvel and DC and opted for a squad car, but still honed my craft and still stayed relevant, doing projects that I can get in and out of quickly and still build my resume and my cred. That's what I did. I've always been a very strategic guy. Those who know me know every move is calculated. Even this one. I know that you clicked on this because in the title you saw my position on EVS and RIPA. Where we stand, right? That's strategic. Doesn't make you less than, but this is how business people work. This is Apple. Everybody works this way. Eric, EVS, they all work this way, especially when you have a following. Okay, I'm subjected to it. I fall for it as well. Okay, that's the human nature. We want to be entertained. We want to see what people's position. Now we live in the age of voyeurism. That's okay. But what I want my platforms to be, including Generation Geek, what Jay wants this to be, is a place that can be trusted, where our reviews, our voice can be trusted. That's why we say nonpartisan. That's why we say we're Switzerland. We try to leave our bias at the door when we talk to you. And when we inject our bias, we attempt to preface it so that you know everything that follows is subjective. All right. But back to EVS, and this video is going a little bit longer than I planned. Yeah, we're going a little bit longer than I planned. But let's go ahead and get it out there and like, subscribe, follow, all the great stuff if you want more, because more is coming. This is episode 1 of Solo Says. Solo Says is going to be coming at you regularly, and I will be answering your questions if you have them on comic stuff. I try to reserve that for Ka-Pow School. Each one of my platforms is an aspect of me in how I operate. Ka-Pow School is my teaching and education. Honor Studios are my properties, as well as my faith. This is fandom with my son, with my kids, with my grandkids, and the conversations that we have that we're inviting you into. That's what Generation Geek is. Our love for the culture. And with the love for the culture in mind, I believe that both sides in their current iteration are destructive. Because let me give you a little history lesson. Comic books have never been self-sustaining. Never. The comic industry has always been supported and propped up by a major media outlet. Always. There's never really been a time outside of the 90s that comics were inherently profitable. They were always supported by a major outlet. Back in the golden age, it was newspapers, when newspapers were king, right? With William Randolph Hearst. Now today, it's Warner. It's Time Warner. It's Disney, right? As technology has advanced, the media moguls shift and evolve. And now we're in the era. But comics are, for lack of a better term, the bastard child. Great for IP farming. They've finally wised up to the benefit of IP farming. But comics, by and large, have always struggled the industry they're in, to the point where it can be even considered an industry, because it's always operated primarily, with the exception of the 90s, from the red. All right. And so knowing this, when I see this level of divisiveness, when I see it, it is akin to me of vultures picking for scraps over a still twitching corpse. And here's what I mean by that. You are dividing, you're dividing and subdividing something that's barely sustainable as a whole. Yeah, you're making your money, right? Great. I'm making my money on Honor Studios. Feel free to, I'm looking for support. Honor Studios has been around for 20 years. It's FYI, we're not new. Okay. I abandoned it. I shelved it for 17 years. And I'll tell that story at Honor Studios. I'm flying down to Texas in a few weeks to film a series of videos outlining the journey of Honor Studios to this point, who we are, where we've been, and why we're back. Okay? From somebody who's much better at videography and cinematography than I am. And so, with that being said, I'm not new to the independent space. I'm not new to it. All right? My book, I have a little sympathy towards, I resonate with Eric July in this sense, and probably only in this sense, that I was him in my 30s before there was social media. When I released my book, War in Paradise, I was just trying to share my faith with a medium that was precious to me. There was no expectation, no preparation, which I regret. Now I teach my students this, which is why our school gets so many 5-star reviews. I share everything, my successes and my failures. I wasn't ready for the success, for the windfall. I had venture capitalists. I met with representatives from Sony PlayStation, all because of they picked me and put me in a newspaper at a Christian comic show. And now I'm on the news. I'm on programs and being interviewed and flying across the country and New York, meeting with boards. And I knew nothing about business, nothing. I was just a talented artist and a really good writer. I will say that without bragging. I'm a much better writer than I am an artist, whatever you may think of my art. Because I'm an avid reader and consumer and learner. And so I just wrote something that I wanted Jay, when he was a kid, that he could share with his friends at school and not be ashamed of. And it blew up. Mind you, the story, granted, I wrote when I was at the animation studio to be a feature-length movie. It was a plot synopsis for a feature-length movie. And that's how, I learned comics from my mentor there, who I was pretty much assigned to as his intern. And he turned out to be a major influence on and introduced me to the art of comics. Not to comics, but to the art and business of comics and what it took to be good and become a pro. And so that's a little bit about that journey. But all that to say is because I'm not new to this. I'm just new to you. I'm new to you. I'm not new to this. Okay. That's why I have an office and a studio. I've done a lot of freelance work. I've even been hired by Google. The platform that we're on hired me to teach their comic loving employees around the globe the art of comics. I got Google receipts in my inbox. All right. Invoices. And so, yeah, I'm not new to this. I'm just new to you. All right. Put respect on my name. And Jay is not new to this either. Jay's not new to this either. He grew up in this. He was by my side. He was my sidekick the entire time, taking him to cons, sitting down. He was listening to the conversations and the deals being made and the offers being made to his dad. My eldest son, Christian, who is on the left, but he's still my son, which is, again, objectivity. He is still my son. And we do not agree on a lot of things, but he's still my son. But we are able to agree and still love. And that's what Generation Geek is about. Can we agree and move past it? And this is what I don't see with these two factions. Can we disagree and move past it? Great if we agree. If we don't, can we still be adults? Is there an adult in the room that's not going to spend 4, 5, 6 hours bashing another guy? Listen, you don't have to be kumbaya. You don't have to be all lovey-dovey. That's not the expectation here. Okay? But what you don't have to do is get in the other dude's way. You're blocking. Right? And you think for some reason, there's some part of you that thinks that by blocking another dude's advancement, that kind of puts you in a better position. That's not how business works. See, I'm of the mindset that there's enough shine for all of us. My tribe is going to rock with me. If you're not about my tribe, you're not going to rock with me. But that doesn't mean I got to wage war against another tribe, especially if my tribe is sustaining me. Doesn't mean I got to wage war. We can mutually live in peace and both prosper. So you don't have to promote one another, but you don't have to wish commercial death on one another, especially when by and large, many of the values that you say that you have on these platforms, they're pretty synonymous. But I see attack after attack. And this is where I have to give credit to Mr. July. He's tapped out. From what he's been posting, he's kind of tapped out of it, which shows growth for the young brother. Not EVS. He still wants it because it keeps him relevant. And it does keep him relevant. It's smart. It's smart. I don't care to participate, but it is smart. Again, this is the objective part. I'm a baby bathwater guy. Let's not toss the baby with the bathwater. Is there something here that I can learn but actually use for a greater good? Even though I find it vile and detestable. I'm not saying he's vile and detestable. I'm not saying that. I don't know that man. I just know what he presents here. And I know I can't watch it with my grandkids, which hurts the growth of our industry because neither one of them is addressing the real elephant in the room. The real elephant is the lack of influx of new readers, lack of exposure to new readers. We're still trying to fight over the primary demographic, which is mostly middle-aged white men in comics. Let's be clear, middle-aged white men. We're fighting over that demographic that is aging and dying out. This is where Disney has failed. This is where Marvel has failed. They've ignored their primary demographic. I'm a middle-aged black man. I got 7 grandkids. All my kids, my baby is now in her late 20s. All right, I have 7 grandkids. I've passed that barrier. Okay, but I'm trying to ensure that I leave something good for them behind, not something they have to click and say, oh, I can't, man, he talked like that. That's what he was about. No. It's short-sightedness, in my opinion. In my opinion, it's short-sightedness on both sides. But again, the onus to me is EVS because he's the elder. Eric July, though he has a bigger platform, has, by my estimation, been more profitable in a shorter amount of time because true measure of wealth and success is, as far as monetarily speaking, is optimum wealth, minimal time. He's been at this shorter and has garnered more. You've been at this 30 years. I don't think you've even reached where he is, but you're going to attack him because you think it props you up. And I'm of the mindset is if 2 lights are in the same room, the room is twice as bright. I ain't got to snuff your light because if the goal is to actually see and to optimize our vision, the more light, the better. I just don't need to get in your way. But we're fighting over an industry that you're fighting over scraps, right? When I first came on Chicago, and I'm about to tap out here in a second because I got a whole day, I got meetings and everything else. Little story. You might find this interesting. When I was a young rookie cop in Chicago, I came in during the height of the crack epidemic. All the projects were up. I was young, strappy, could fight, could run, could shoot, from the military, all those things. I was considered a golden child in my department. But the city was going up in flames. And RICO had become a thing. And all the kingpins, all the overlords were being scooped up. Right? They were all being scooped up and charged on RICO. As they should have been. But what was not accounted for was the aftermath and the fallout. The aftermath was there was no longer a code on the street or enforcers of said code. They were all locked up. And the young bucks, the next generation, ran rampant. And now you go from territories that were once measured in square miles, but that were controlled and children weren't getting killed and innocent bystanders weren't getting killed, right? Because they maintained uneasy truces for the greater good. Even these guys were big thinkers. You had younger guys coming in that had no such compunction. And what was once controlled vast areas of territory, now you have upstarts battling over street corners, killing everyone. This is what I see has become of this factionalization of this independent space. We don't have to get along. We don't have to promote one another. But I'm not going to waste time attacking you when, number one, it just wastes my resources and my efforts when I should be promoting my stuff and directing my energy there and nurturing my tribe and hopefully trying to get an influx of new readers because it's dying, y'all. Somebody asked me in the comments to talk about comics. It's dying. It's been dying for a long time. Social media and crowdfunding are a lifeline, to say the least, in independence. They're a lifeline, to say the least. But make no mistake, you guys are picking over a still twitching corpse and mad at the portions the other guy's getting. That doesn't serve the greater good. What we should be doing is grabbing paddles, right? And defibrillating the industry. Let's jumpstart it. Let's leverage our audiences and our resources and our efforts and our platforms in a way where the industry is, because when all is said and done, we are all grandchildren as independents. We are the grandchildren of the greater comics industry. New readers don't know. They don't know the difference between mainstream and independent. Newsflash. New readers don't know the difference between mainstream and independent. They don't care. They just care about good stories that they can escape to, that are fun, exciting, engaging. Let's keep it geek. Keep it geek, man. Keep it geek. Quit trying to be tough. Quit being vulgar. Create content that I can share with my freaking grandkids, man. Where they can learn something. Where they can be inspired and motivated to carry the torch once we're gone, because we are all leaving here. We're all leaving here. What are you going to do? I think it's a responsibility to these guys with these incredible platforms, with these incredible abilities. Ethan Van Sciver he's a pro. He's a pro. But when I see how many people that I know personally, he don't know who I know. He don't even know me. Okay? I know people that he was streaming with that now have been banished to the Outlands because of a disagreement. When I see how fragile their relationships are on both sides, fragile relationships. I don't need fragile relationships. They don't benefit me and they don't benefit my endeavors. I need cemented relationships that can withstand disagreements, that can withstand differences of opinion, as long as the lion's share of our issues or our missions we have in common. Not a tweet that can easily be misinterpreted because there's no paralanguage or context attached to the actual text. No inflection of a voice, no blink of an eye, no raising of an eyebrow. The majority of human communication is paralanguage, in case you did not know. That's a little tip from law enforcement. The majority, we hear what you say, but we watch what you're doing. That communicates far more to us than anything that you say. And that's how we relate as humans. That's why YouTube is so successful. That's why platforms like this are thriving. Because you can read my intensity, you can read my passion visually. You're getting the lion's share of the communication value, as opposed to text, which is like, what, 10%? 10%? And you guys are waging war over copy. What was said, right? Not having real conversations. And then by the time you get to the real conversation, you're so angry and bitter and outraged. No one's really hearing what the other person's saying. Y'all ain't got to rock with each other, man. By and large, I do not care. I got my own thing going on. I'm launching my own platforms. And if you guys are interested, support Generation Geek, support Honor Studios, support Ka-Pow. If you want to learn from me and my team, we bring all this here. I bring all of this. I carry who I am everywhere. So if you want to be a part of my Gen Geek fam with me, Jay, and whoever else we have on the show, come on, man. Let's keep it geek. Solo out.